So today I want to talk about a beautiful line that white can play against the Philidor defense, specifically the HanHam variation if black goes wrong. First things first, I'll get away kind of the boring line, but something that you should know. But I don't want to end with that. I want the beautiful line to be fresh in your brain. It's also kind of a bit of a puzzle, so you're going to get to pause the video and definitely try and solve it. Try and figure out the exact way to win, the exact way to bring about mate. And as you can see, I've gotten incredibly sweaty calculating this, and I'm kind of out of breath. So as you can tell, it's just a fantastic line. So we're going to start off with your basic Philidor. And this is the HanHam variation. I'm personally not a fan of this for black. Look at white's bishop, look at black's bishop. There's some fried liver type of stuff going on with the f7 pawn. And as we'll see, f7 becomes a critical portion of this variation. Now, the critical move here is black taking on d4. And this is a mistake, as you'll see. After knight takes, bishop out to e7. Black has created some critical weaknesses, and you can exploit them by taking on f7 with the bishop. Now, I challenge anybody to try and figure out the best continuation after both king to f8 and king takes f7. So after king to f8 and king takes f7, calculate the most efficient way to win in both of those variations. I'm going to start with king to f8 and talk about what happens in that line. It's not as pretty, but still definitely should know what to do and how to win that position. And then we'll go into king to f7 and a few different variations and some of the, well, probably the most difficult move to find. One of the most difficult moves to find that I've ever experienced that leads to an immediate win for white. Now, we have king to f8 first. Let's investigate a little bit. Bishop takes on f7, king to f8, denying the capture of the piece. Very simply, you see we have an immediate fork, and it's pretty much winning for white on the spot. The best thing is to be accurate. So you want to play queen to d5 and lining up with the king, and you get this discover check and the game's over. Now we also have a different one. Bishop takes on f7, king takes on f7, excuse me. Now you can try and pause the video and find the best move here for white. I've never played this on the board. I've never gotten to this position, but if you'd like to pause and try and figure out the exact continuation that wins, most specifically, it's absolutely beautiful. In this position, knight to e6 is the winning move. And very simply, the king can't even take this knight. What's really important to remember is patterns, especially when it comes to mating. And we'll see this, I believe I talked about it before, but the fish pattern, where you have a king and two pieces blocking the escape squares. And we'll notice it here in a second. But when the queen checks the king directly next to the king, it only has two places to move. And so we'll see here in a second, but so king takes, queen check, king here only move, and queen here mate. And you'll notice these two squares are blocked. So this is a constant pattern we have to think about. It makes it a lot easier to calculate quickly if you can kind of recognize that pattern at the end of the line here. Now the knight is actually completely untouchable here, or else you immediately get mated. And you might ask, well, what happens if queen e8, sidestepping the attack from the knight and also not being taken by the king? After queen e8 in this position, we have the move knight takes c7 with a fork, queen d8, escaping the fork, queen d5 check. If the king goes back, we have queen to f7 mate, king f8. Excuse me, I got confused there for a second, sorry. King check, king goes back, and we check with the knight. Knight e6 check, king e8, knight takes g7 check, king back, and now we have kind of a windmill pattern here. Knight back to e6, king e8, queen h5 with mate. Now, lastly, we can look at if the king goes forward here. So queen e8, knight takes e7, queen d8, queen d5 check, king f8, knight e6 check. And instead of knight e8, what about king f7? Well, this results in a similar pattern with knight g5, king g6 coming out. And we'll see pretty much the king march of the century here. The king is completely forced, very few moves. If the king goes back, we can immediately win. Something nice like this double check. Absolutely disgusting. Bishop providing the check and the knight providing the check. He can't even block with the bishop. Anyway, so after king h4, he continues his march down the board. Knight f3, king h3, g5, discovered check, king g2, and the final move, rook g1. And we'll see every single piece here on the king side just completely playing their role. Absolutely fantastic. The pawns covering, the rook providing the checkmate, and everything cutting off a square. So I hope you guys enjoyed some of those lines. It's super fun to play against the Philidor. I personally like bringing that bishop out early. I think it's a really fun way to play, and there's a lot of ways for black to go wrong. I'll link the study in. There's a bunch of other ones that I have in here that are nice to use. Sorry if I'm a little bit disheveled right now, but that's how it goes sometimes when you're studying this hard. So peace out.